Cindy Lou, Cinders.
Yes.
I've got a
Yes.
few. I've got a few names for you.
Apparently, it's leave it with me. Somebody,
Well,
somebody in the fan, so one of the, I don't want to say followers, it's sincere, but one of the people that is following the show said, "Leave it with me. I can get behind that." And I thought, wow, this person is brilliant. Okay, so what are my choices here? Do I have a choice?
you have a choice.
All
Well,
right.
I put forward Cindy Lou,
Yeah.
but I think really, if we want to Australianize you, it
Yeah.
actually is Cinders.
Cinders.
Yeah.
My next door neighbor called me Cinders when I was a child, who was not from Australia, coincidentally, and my Irish friend calls me Cinders. So it's a perfectly acceptable nickname.
I mean, I
I'm
am your
with it.
neighbor now. See?
You, hi. Yeah, sort of. You're right next door, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cinders.
yeah,
Let's just start with the most important topic of the week, right?
yes. What
Your
is it?
Eagles.
My bloody Eagles. It was glorious. It was glorious.
How? What happened? I missed the whole game.
Oh, I don't even, honestly, it's a blur, but I'll tell you that there were jokes. There were jokes about, whether the Eagles would win prior to the game, and and I obviously thought there was no way that the Eagles were going to beat the Bulldogs. And then I believe it was like 30 something to like, I don't know, maybe it was like one goal. It was really, Bulldogs had barely scored and the Eagles were up like in the 30s, and I thought, I can't believe this is happening. I just can't believe it's happening. So and it just continued to roll. I mean, it got a little close. It got a little close at one point, but they just kept driving and they were just like relentless, and they were, any look, they're not great, but all you can ask for when you have a not great team is that they like just leave themselves on the field, and that's exactly what happened, and they won, and it was beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So,
It's it's rare to get a win like that at the end of the season when you've had a
yeah.
season like what you've had.
Yeah.
Usually they might start off the first few games with a little bit of juice and then they just fall away and then you've got all these retirements and all these
Yeah.
things happening.
It
Speaking of,
was, yeah.
there's a lot of retirements. This is not normal.
What?
This is an abnormal amount of retirements.
Okay, so I did want to ask you that. We touched on a couple of the retirements last year, and I actually was trying to look up like what's the most retirements that have ever happened. And I know like sometimes people get retired rather than choosing to retire, um but in terms of like the marquee players, it seems really significant who's going out. So, and so here's something I noticed recently. So, as you know, I follow GWS quite a bit, and I was watching. They have a fantastic marketing person. Whoever does their social media seriously is on fire, and they played like the entire retirements of Lloyd and of Phil Davis. And I was like, it's so emotional. I mean, I sound like a big crybaby. I'm crying over the Eagles. I'm crying over these players, but it's so emotional. And I don't think we have that equivalency here in sports. Like, the guys come up and they get out their books and they read these heartfelt, teary eyed, like, it's so beautiful. I mean, I don't know. It's so sweet. On the field, they're tearing each other like they're tearing their limbs off, and then they like read these like dedications to their mates, and oh, it was beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That that's an interesting point. I haven't thought about that, and I think that might be what makes this game in Australia stand out from the American sports. Like we haven't, I would say, we have not yet fully Americanized our game. And part of what I
That's
mean
good.
by that is, yeah, I think part of what I mean by that is you still have the loyalty factor, and so you still have people that are drafted to a team
Yeah.
and retire at the same team. And so you build
Yeah.
that connection. And playing footy is a very, very unique experience. Like I've played basketball and like we're
Yeah.
tight because there's 5 of us on the court. But when you've got
Yeah.
18 on the field plus your bench,
Yeah.
it's like a real family bond.
Well, I also think that the idea of, because I still, to be honest, like the whole idea of the club and like the membership and all that, we don't really have that. Like we discussed before, season ticket holders, but that's not really the same thing. Like even if you have season tickets to the Miami Dolphins, it doesn't really make you like, as far as I know, like you're not part of the organization in any
Yeah.
way. And so, in watching these retirements, and, obviously they always bring out the kids and then the spouses are always there, but it definitely, like, I really felt the family, element
Yeah.
watching these retirements in a different way. And I don't think, obviously, like, um, when Josh Kennedy retired, I had to rewatch it last night. I watched Josh again. When he retired, it was like, because he was my favorite. Like I was invested. But this year, I really like. I was moved by some of these speeches and some of these guys leaving, and then it was interesting because I couldn't find certain ones. Like I didn't see Buddy Franklin's speech to his fellow players. I would have really liked to be able to watch that. And I didn't
But
see like full episodes of like Rewalt or Cochin. They did like little like compilations of it, not just like full on like blubbering like you know.
yeah.
I want my drama, man. On the field, off the field, I want my drama.
Yeah. No, I've got to say, in all my years of watching, I haven't felt this many retirees who are in that bracket of, Hall of
Single
Fame type
teams.
player.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot. I mean, even
Yeah.
just from the Eagles alone, I think 3 premiership players
Yeah.
are retiring. You got
Yeah. Nick,
Nick
Hearn,
Nat,
and Shuey.
Ern, and Shuey. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's time for the new generation to come through, which means it's time for the Blues to come through. We're going to be the next layer of champions.
I mean, okay. So the elephant in the room is obviously the Blues are playing GWS this week. And for my
Yes.
own personal reasons, I would like to see a very exciting game. And you guys, even if you don't win, you still win, right? But honestly, like with the way Collingwood's playing and the way you guys are playing, I don't know. I've made a lot of statements about who's playing in the actual finals, but I'm rethinking some of my predictions here.
Well, are you willing to change them officially, or
No, definitely not.
okay?
Too many people to piss off at the moment. I'm going to just leave it as an unofficial. I'm American. What do I know? I don't know
Yeah.
anything.
You have the best out. Honestly, you
Yeah.
have the best out. Sorry, I didn't know. It's just
Oh, what do I know? Just saying stuff.
yeah.
um, yeah, but it should be an exciting week. And yeah, I mean, I didn't think Charlie was going to be able to kick as many goals last week, and he certainly proved me wrong again. Um, and I don't know, who came back for you? You had Harry came back, but was that the right call? We had a discussion about this. I mean,
Mm.
do you feel like that was the right call?
I think in the short term it hurt us because he
Yeah.
just wasn't the same.
Yeah.
But I think for the sake of finals, you kind of just need to get minutes into the body. And his first game was probably always going to be a bit of a struggle because he's a big guy.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I noticed with him was he did not have confidence in his body in the way that he launched at the football, and
Mm,
maybe that's got to do with the knee. But he definitely had confidence in his running ability because he's got that speed about him. So um, I think this week is going to be a lot better for him. It's under the roof, perfect conditions, dry
right.
football.
Right. In
Um,
a home game, not in Adelaide with I can't believe you actually went to the game. Not Adelaide,
yeah, Gold
Gold
Coast.
Coast. But did you have fun?
I had so much fun. Well, I had fun at
after they
with
won.
yeah, 3 minutes to go. It was a very uncomfortable game.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, you know, I'm humble enough to know a loss is coming at some point, whether it's
Yeah.
this year or next year or whatever. But
Yeah.
just the way in which we capitulated in the first quarter, and this
Yeah.
team has never come back from a deficit like that and won a game
Oh,
since they've been
so
together.
another
So
milestone for you guys. How exciting.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was good. Then I went out, had some fun, had a few drinks, a few tequilas. It was
Nice.
awesome. Yeah,
It looked like Miami Beach from me, from the when you were broadcasting from your balcony. Kind of
yeah.
that's what. Have you ever been to Miami?
I have not.
Yeah, it kind of had the
I
same
picture it.
vibe.
I think if you went to like wish.com and you ordered Miami, you'd get the Gold Coast.
Yeah, maybe with maybe, but there's a little more. There's a little more flavor in
Yes,
Miami. A little more,
I think so.
oomph. You know,
I've got to
but
come. I've got to
yeah,
come.
one day, big party in Miami.
Hmm.
Um, Sorry, I'm looking down because I had a question for you. Oh, so somebody asked me a question about Silvani, and
Okay.
apparently he has not been offered a renewal of his contract yet. Is that right? Am I remembering this correctly?
Yeah, there has not been an agreement made between him and the club.
So your thought, what's going through your mind? Because I know there's like a legacy situation going on here. Um, I find him an exciting player for you guys. So what are you thinking about this situation?
I am Team Jack. I
Yeah,
am Team Silvani.
yeah,
I think when it's all said and done, I think he'll stay.
yeah.
Um, I mean, I love the story. It's a third. I mean, his grandfather was a champion of
Oh,
not just
okay.
Carlton, but the
Yeah.
game. His dad was a champion of the game. Named in Team of the Century. So Jack, round one, he played his 100th game, which made him the first player to play, first family to play 100 games for three generations for one club.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's deep. And I, I just, the idea of Jack in, I don't know, a Sydney Swans Guernsey or a St Kilda Guernsey, it
Painful.
just
Yeah, painful.
doesn't make sense.
But so is
Um,
this unusual that that this late in the season that the contract hasn't been was it I mean, are you saying it's on the table, it hasn't been signed or it hasn't even been offered? Like what how does that work? Like
I feel like it could be one of two things. They've either mutually agreed to do their negotiations at the end of the year
okay.
and see what offers come for Jack, or they're just negotiating back and forth and they haven't agreed on a like they haven't settled on a deal. I don't know. He's injured, which hurts
Mm,
his case,
yeah.
but yeah, I would be surprised if he didn't play at Carlton next year.
He's young, right? I mean, how old is this kid?
It's like 25.
Yeah, so that's still pretty young.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I keep saying it, like, who in the world would want to leave Carlton now? Like, I mean, fair
Right.
enough, 3 years ago,
Right.
2 years ago, 5 years ago, but like, they're just about to become good. So,
I keep thinking about what's his name who left he left GWS and went to Richmond.
Taranto.
Taranto. Yeah.
Mm,
Like I'm like, is he kicking himself? Like he had a moment like earlier in the year where he was playing really well and he was kind of like hot for 3 minutes and then like that kind of went bye bye and then the
yeah.
Giants started getting really good. I was like, yeah, I'd be rethinking those thoughts right there. But
Hmm.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. You will report back to me. I'm sure when
I will.
the ink
Yeah.
is dry on his contract,
Hmm.
and hopefully he stays
Absolutely.
blue. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one for you.
Oh, what's that?
I wanted to talk about and get your perspective on. Oh, is it tanking or tagging? Let's do both. Let's start with
Oh,
tanking.
yeah. I got
Because
stuff on both.
yeah, yeah, let's start with that because I feel
Okay.
like there's a difference in the way we experience it in the American world and in the AFL.
So even as you're saying that, I don't know if we have. I really don't know if we have the equivalency of. I don't know a lot about the NFL draft in terms of, I know there is some kind of mechanism to keep the teams equalized, and I know in the NFL, like financially and all that, it's more even. Where like baseball, apparently it's not, because I remember years ago the Yankees had so much money, they had the best team and they kept winning because they just kept buying the best players. But I don't know that we have that. You might know you might know more about it than I do in terms of tanking. And I don't even think I really knew this term until maybe last year. I never heard it before.
So Carlton has been embroiled in tanking accusations in the past. So
Okay.
in 2007,
Okay.
yeah, the last game of the year, we played against Melbourne, and it was deemed to be the Cruiser Cup because Matthew Cruiser was the standout number one pick that was going to be coming into the league. So we ended up tanking, losing on purpose. We put players behind the ball that
Oh,
shouldn't
I
have
mean, so you
been.
have like substantial evidence that tanking occurred? Like
As
like there's
in, you
no
let
there's no debate. There's no debate
the you
amongst the
can
footy community.
we can pretend it didn't happen, but it
Okay.
happened,
It
you know.
happened. Okay. He's
And
saying it here. Ladies and gentlemen, T Dog is saying for sure tanking happened. Okay.
yep, tanking happened.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest comparison for the US would be the Philadelphia 76ers,
Okay.
who literally had a strategy to just accumulate as many top picks as they could.
Okay.
So I don't know. This is where it gets interesting. So if the Eagles lose
Yeah.
on the weekend and they lose whatever the rest of the every game for the rest of the season as it looked like they were going to,
Yeah.
the accusation of tanking comes up.
Yeah.
But this week, when Geelong are playing against the Western Bulldogs,
Yes.
they're going to put all these players in for surgery who all of a sudden
Yes.
are not playing now.
Yeah.
So are they tanking?
Well, I don't know if they're tanking because I don't know what it does to their. I mean, they're still in the center of the ladder. It certainly offers the Bulldogs a possibly easier road to make finals. And I find that to be a little discouraging because obviously, I mean, GWS and I think even Essendon have a very slim path to the finals. Is that right? I
Mm-hmm.
think that's right. They all have the same percentage. Oh, no, no. I get it. If GWS is actually ahead, it's just if they lose to you then and those other teams win, then it starts to, be dicey with the ladder. So I
Correct.
don't know if you'd call it tanking because it seems to me that the tanking definition is to get the better picks. But certainly it would draw into question whether or not North Melbourne is going to tank because apparently North Melbourne is playing Gold Coast in Tasmania, if I have this
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
And Gold Coast never wins in Tasmania, right? So the odds would be in favor of North Melbourne actually winning this game, right? And if they suddenly lose or they pull any of the shenanigans, then they are tanking and they're apparently getting pick one. Then they wanted some kind of, what do you guys call it? Sympathy pick or
Oh,
what is it called?
it's actually ridiculous. So they drafted Ben Mackay a few years ago,
Yeah, and he wants to
and
leave,
due to
right?
the nature of his contract and his
Yeah.
free agency status, if he leaves, they would get a compensation pick, which is after their first pick. So they're going to be getting potentially pick 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Ben Mackay is just not worth pick 2, but it's weird.
Yeah, it's the whole thing sounds very it all sounds very strange. So,
Hmm.
but the back to like the Eagles again, right? So a few weeks back, I think it was Kane Corns was very he was all over Adam Simpson saying he's tanking because that game that they almost won, he didn't throw an extra player, I think in the back. And then I actually heard Will Schofield give lots of reasons why um, it wouldn't be unusual. By the way, so I was on jury duty all week. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. And I was on a trial. I was actually on a trial up until today. So now it's funny
Wow.
as I'm talking to you, like, I'm like thinking about the thinking about the evidence. I'm like very carefully choosing my words. Like it's so funny. I'm like, is he guilty? But anyway, so there was like all this accusation that basically Adam Simpson was tanking by not winning that game. And then this week when the Eagles won, like the conversation was all about why he should have tanked, and like everything was the opposite. And what's the name of that show? Is it Footy?
Classified.
Yeah, I think what's the cute, very elegant guy's name? Lyons? Like what's his, not Lyons?
There's Matthew Lloyd.
Lloyd. Yes, Matthew Lloyd was like the one person of reason. He goes, this whole subject is rubbish. I love the word
Yeah.
rubbish. But like they were again like, well, which is it? Is it is it tanking is good or tanking is bad, or is there some imaginary place where that switches over? Like it's so insane. It's
I'll
insane. And
take.
I'm not saying that as an Eagles fan. I'm just saying that as like it's complete
Hmm.
stupidity.
Yeah, from my experience now, having gone through a tanking saga, so we ended up getting Matthew Cruiser with the number one pick, and he was a
Okay.
great player, but he
Yeah.
was perennially injured
Oh,
after he did
okay.
his first knee, and I feel like we should accept the fact that teams may be tanking at certain points in the year. Like we don't want to like label it and say, yeah, it's okay, we're okay with it.
Yeah.
But I think in the long run, the footy gods or the sport gods or the karma bus, it always
Come
comes
with us.
back. It
Yeah.
just does. And I think Matthew Lloyd made the good point. You actually would prefer to win like the Eagles did, to build some
Yeah.
rapport with the group,
Yeah.
um, rather than just assume that because you get a better pick, you're going to get a better outcome and win a
Honestly,
premiership.
it seems like it means nothing to me because, I've asked, I'm like, how many of these number one picks like end up like with these incredible careers? And I mean, it's not all of them, right? There's a
No.
percentage of them that go on and there's a percentage of them that don't work out, right?
Yep.
It's not
Well,
overwhelmingly like to that. And by the way, I'm just going to say this real quick. I think the way that these kids played the Eagles showed that like maybe they don't even need the number one pick. Like maybe these kids given enough time to actually like play and kind of gel and all of that stuff will just keep building. And yeah, they have some holes. They need some new people, whatever. But I don't know. I'm not putting in the value of this Harley Reid, and he's gonna end up if he went to the Eagles, he would probably end up leaving like your buddy at Port Adelaide did,
yeah,
Jason Horn Francis, right? So
yeah.
like, I don't know. It seems like there's like a lot of chatter just for the sake of chatter.
Oh, well,
You
you
know,
have summarized footy. You have summarized perfectly the modern mainstream
media.
AFL media. Yeah.
I'm sure
It's
somebody's
like,
gonna comment on one of our shows, like, and what are you guys doing?
no, well, it's bickery. It's like you've actually, when you mentioned like they were talking about tanking and
Yeah,
how they were, slating Adam Simpson for potentially tanking, and then now it's like they're slating him because he shouldn't have won the game.
right.
That is AFL media to a T,
Right, right,
you
right.
know?
It's like they forget they're being recorded, and then like, there's like video evidence of everything they said, and they're like, "Oh, it wasn't me. No, not me."
Yeah, like the trade Harry Mackay talk. I mean, come on.
So where do you
I can't.
think? Oh, you're Harry Mackay. I was thinking of his brother, or are they
Mm.
are they the same person?
Are they the same person? Mm.
Very interesting. That was a
Hmm.
great one. It's fascinating how a lot of these guys that are brothers don't play against each other for some reason. They're always injured or out or dropped the week that they're supposed to play their sibling, except for those cuties, the tall blondies. Why can't I think of their
Twins?
yeah,
Mackays?
Deconing. No,
Oh, the DeConings. Yes.
I've
Sam and
actually
Tom.
seen I've actually seen them play a game against each other. But I
Yes.
think that was one of the few. Like even McGovern, the McGovern brothers were out. One or both were out when they played each other. Kind of interesting.
It's
Maybe
always the
there's
case,
something
isn't
like
it?
maybe there's something in the contract. It's like I refuse to play my brother. Oh, but you know what was scandalous is when was it the Sarong brothers.
Yeah.
Who's the one that wears the hat? And
Oh,
then
the
one from
Brayshaw
The
brothers.
Brayshaw brothers. Oh my God, there is definitely some brotherly rivalry going on that game
Do
match.
you recall the game where Andrew Gaff punched
I do. I
Andy?
actually watched that
Yeah,
game. I watched that
yeah.
game, and it was horrifying. And I think he actually was horrified. I
Mm,
personally think it was an accident. I think he went to
I
hit him like in the chest, and
yeah.
it went to the neck. And I think he was horrified because traditionally he's not known as like a dirty
No,
player.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, it
One
was
of the
terrible.
craziest scenes. I remember watching it. It was a Sunday night here in Melbourne, and I remember like the animosity every time Gaff went near the ball, and it was so strange because Gaff, like you said, Gaff's got a really
Yeah.
clean or had a really clean reputation.
Yeah.
So,
Just a little teddy bear.
hmm
Say, let's talk about now. I had texted you or whatever. The idea of is firing the coach the new hanging public square hanging for Australia.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the media will drive it.
Yeah.
You kind of, depending on how senior your list is. So if you're Carlton and you have Michael Voss, you
Yeah.
kind of have 2 seasons, 1.5 to 2 seasons to start showing like you're going to be a contender.
Okay.
Otherwise, they just keep asking the question. But it's a really brutal public display of, I don't know, criticism.
Yeah. What do you think about the whole Luke Beveridge situation?
I think that it is more a Western Bulldogs as a club issue than
Yeah.
what it is a Luke Beveridge as a coach issue.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I've learnt watching the game for however long I have, it's more often than not a club misalignment than an individual.
So meaning like personalities, because obviously they have it's very talented list. I mean, they have some of the best players, right? So is it just that their personalities aren't clicking, or like what is it? Is it something unknown? Is it something that you can't put your finger on? Is it something?
Yeah, I have no idea because I don't really follow the doggies too closely.
Well, in general, if you saw this going on at Carlton, would you like suspect that if it's not the coach and it's a club issue, then what? I guess I'm asking more than like, what
hmm.
is that? What would that mean? What does that mean?
Well, I think so with Bevo, he's been at the doggies for like 8 years or 9 years. So
Sounds about
there's
right.
the argument that he's just run his era with them has come and gone. But having
Yeah.
said that, Ken Hinkley as well, 10 years with Port Adelaide,
Yeah.
they keep him signed. So I feel like the truth will come out in 10 years time.
Yeah.
And I feel like the truth will have something to do with a misalignment with the coach and the board and then the players. I think there's just no synergy with them because
Yeah.
really, if they're all on the same page and they've all put their egos to the side and they've all bought into the common goal, like there's no
Yeah.
reason why they can't be a top four side.
They don't come off as like a cohesive unit to me,
No.
just from watching, because I have watched a lot of their games this season.
Mm.
They don't have the same kind of energy that like you guys have. I would say GWS has, especially now. Like there's something about when you see those guys playing that you feel it clicking. You feel like
Yeah.
you might have your star, but you don't feel like it's all about that person. And like with the Bulldogs, it kind of feels like, oh, you got this great person and this great person and that great person, but it's not a great team. It just
Mm.
doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
It's the chicken and the egg because you
Yeah,
need the relationships to form.
yeah,
And in order for relationships to form, you need to kind of go through some shit together. And then you need to kind of it's a test of their solidarity if they're
yeah,
really a united unit. And Carlton just went through it. We lost 8 of 9. And the
yeah,
test, ultimately, looking back now, wasn't about whether or not the coach was the right coach or not. It was more about, is the club actually on the same page or not?
Well, for a little bit, it was like, let's fire Vossi. Let's get rid of
Hmm.
him. Like, it's like
Oh,
the go to.
Cindy.
It's like whenever you don't like something, it's like, fire the coach. It's like,
Yeah, it's
okay.
weird.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Um, the college team I followed, they have not been, excellent for a very long time, since 80s or 90s, and they've
Hmm.
gone through a series of coaches. But I also think that, like, things changed. Like, they used to just be able to recruit the best, and now there's just so many teams that are excellent that it's sort of like they just can't have the dominance they had. So I'm to your point, I'm not sure if it's the coach that's failing, or if it's just the fact that, like, the excellence has been spread out
Hmm.
more. But that's a whole other conversation. College
It
football.
is. It
That could be
is.
endless. That could take weeks.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy to learn about that in good time.
In good time. Excellent.
Hmm.
Excellent. So
Now,
I hear you have some names for me.
yeah, I do. I have some slang terms that we're going to end
Yeah.
the show on, and we're going to go
Okay.
through some, and we're going
Okay.
to test your knowledge. And then, if you want to lob some towards me in an American sense,
Jeez.
maybe I
I've
can
been
see what I
told
can
that
do.
you're going to know anything that I already know, but we shall see.
No, no,
So,
you never know.
all right.
Let's
I'm
start
ready.
with something simple. What's a specky?
Specky is the name of my dead cat.
Okay,
True story.
okay. I did not see that go in there.
Yeah, I didn't, I'm full of
Shout out
surprises.
Specky.
Yeah, little Specky in kitty heaven. I don't know what a Specky is. I don't know what a
Okay,
Specky is.
what would you like if you had to guess?
Mm, well, I'm thinking like Specky, spectacles, glasses, but that doesn't make any sense. Only one person wears glasses, and that's the American. A Specky. Honestly, I have no idea. What's a
Okay.
Specky? You gotta give
Okay.
me
So do
hints.
you know what a hanger is?
Oh, like when they go for the ball and they're like hanging, like they got airtime before they come down?
Yes.
Okay,
So
got it.
when they have like the knees on the shoulders and they take a hanger, that's actually also known as a specky, shortened for spectacular. So
Spectacular.
you were kind
That's
of
why
there. You
my
said spectacle when
oh, because that's why my cat is named Specky, because he was spectacular. Literally, that was how
yes.
he got his name.
Uh-huh.
So okay, Specky. All right, learn
I'll
something
give
new.
you I was gonna give you half a point. You were there. You were there. You were on the right
You don't have
path.
to be kind. It's okay. I can take it.
Okay. All
All
right.
right.
What is a worm burner?
A worm burner. Uh, I would imagine it has something to do with like sliding across the ground, like something to do with the grass, like there are worms in the soil, and if you slid across it, you would burn a worm.
You're like, you're not there, but you're not there.
A worm burner. You want to give me a hint?
All right. So no, you're kind of there. So you ever notice when a player kicks the ball and it's really low, like really low?
Yeah.
That's a worm burner.
Okay, but low in
Sometimes,
the air or low like when they kick it like a soccer? I know what a soccer is, right?
so it's not, so it's when they don't kick it as a soccer off the ground, but they
Yeah.
actually like, it can be one of two things. You can miss kick it
Okay.
and it can just like roll around the ground because you've not kicked it very well, or you can kick it so low that it's just so low to ground that yeah, it burns.
It's a worm. Okay, so I'm all right. I'm close. I'm
You're there.
close.
You're there.
What else
Oof.
do you got?
What's a falcon?
A bird, a big bird, bird of
Yep.
prey, a falcon. Um, hmm. I'm gonna say maybe a falcon is when is when they kick it way up high in the air, Like just straight up. I don't know. Falcon?
A
Anyone?
falcon, and I don't know how this happened, but a
Yeah.
falcon is when it hits someone on the head, the ball. So they'll be going up for a mark and the
Yeah.
ball, they might miss it and it just like hits them in the head. Or someone kicks the ball off the ground, hits them
But
in the head. It's called a falcon.
but you don't know why.
No.
I'd like you to get back to me on that one.
Okay.
Leave it with me, as you
I don't make the
say.
rules. I
All
don't
right,
make the
Falcon.
rules.
Okay, what else do you got?
I got one more for you. What is a soda?
Okay, so I don't know. I know it's like when it has something to do when they're kicking the ball and it either misses the the I don't know if it's that misses the center goal or if it misses the behind. I know it's something about kicking on goal, and I have no idea what it means. None. I haven't been able to work it out.
Maybe the viewers can help me here, but I actually feel like the Perth commentators use the term soda more than any of the others. But you're right. That's right. It's basically a poor kick on goal.
But is it like because it's so duh? Like I don't. What
Yeah.
does it mean? Like why?
It's just
Why?
like, I don't make the rules. They just are what they are.
You guys, and your nicknames. Do you know who the comedian Monty Franklin is?
Monty Franklin.
He's Australian, but I think he lives here. And
Okay.
his whole shtick is basically like ossifying words or like teaching Americans like how you get from one thing to another. So like I want to know the evolution of soda because
I
even
feel like,
Falcon,
yeah,
what the hell?
the chat will absolutely help us. So
Yeah,
those of you watching at home,
are you gonna let me
we
know,
need more.
people?
We need more Aussie footy slang words, or just Aussie slang. Maybe we can just expand.
Oh yeah, let's go crazy. I know a
Mm.
lot. I know boot and bonnet for sure. I've learned that. I know I know fly wire. Fly wire, you
What?
know. Fly wire?
Oh, a
Screen
fly
door?
wire. Yeah,
Fly
yeah,
wire.
yeah, yeah.
So you know how you have a sponsor that's like the tile company?
Yes, North Tile Distributors. Yep.
So I'm gonna tell a personal story. So I have a friend, I have a friend, her daughter's like a niece, and she was like saying something about, she said something about the tall shop, the tall shop. I go, what? The tall shop, the tall shop. I go, what? The tall shop. And I was seriously like, I thought I was having like a stroke. I was like, what is she saying? And finally, it came out that she was saying the tile shop. So now that you have this wonderful sponsor, I laugh because I'm like, it's the toll, the toll. I can't even say it. I can't even say it. The toll shop, the toll. So
I
anyway,
like it.
yeah.
I think this is going to be my favorite segment.
Good. Awesome. I wish I had ones for you, but honestly, just I know we're wrapping things up, but I was just
Yeah.
curious, like, because I've been told that you guys would know, like, do you know what a Hail Mary is?
Oh yeah, Hail Mary, last play of the game, all on the line. You're throwing a long Hail Mary and hoping that, yeah.
Hoping they win. Do you know what a do you know what oops, sorry. This is not a football reference, but do you know what out in left field means?
Out in left field,
Yeah.
that would be baseball,
Yeah.
and that would be uh, left field.
It's an actual place, but like left field, it's just sort of like you're out like in nowhere.
Oh, in the
Like
middle of
like
butt fuck nowhere.
you might say like, God, that came out of left field. Like
Ah,
you like, but that's how people would say that. Do you know what a sack is?
yes, it's when you tackle the quarterback.
Yeah, see, this is no fun because we don't have these cutesy little get on your bike and go. Like we have nothing.
Yeah.
We have nothing. So I apologize that I cannot delight you with our clever little American
Mhm.
sayings, but we're just not as clever as you guys are. So
It's
we're just
okay.
gonna have
Well,
to
we're
learn.
lazy. We try and shorten and abbreviate everything. That's kind of where it stems from.
Yeah, you can say lazy, but I honestly I think it's clever. It's
Yes.
creative and
Yeah.
it's fun, and especially if like when we find out how we got to Falcon from kicked in the head, I think it is going to be a delight. It's going to
Yeah.
be a delight.
Well, I look forward to
Yeah.
our next layer of learning.
Alrighty.
All
So
right.
until
Cindy,
then, yes.
it's been real.
Yes. All right, T Dog. I'll talk to you
Go
soon.
Blues.
Bye. Mwah.